Okay. All right. My name's Mary Grebner, and I'm with the Olympia Indivisible Endorsement Research Team. And today I am interviewing, oh my gosh, you are Britney Johnson, and you are a candidate for District 3 position on the Olympia School Board. So I'd like you to start and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much. Well, as you said, I'm Britney Johnson, running for District 3 Olympia School Board. And I'm really excited to be running for this position. We moved to Olympia about 3 years ago, so I am relatively new to the community. But we moved here because we absolutely love it here. We came from Iowa, which is very different from where we are now, and we just realized we really didn't fit in at all in so many ways. And we wanted to find a community that was more like-minded for us, that we felt we could really actually grow into and find ourselves in. And so we just searched all over the country to be like, what is that perfect place that we could find? And we found Olympia, and we moved here without even really ever visiting. And we and we just absolutely love it. It has been everything we wanted it to be, is more than we wanted. And part of that was the school system. We absolutely love the schools. We love the neighborhoods. We love being able to walk to school. Housing is relatively affordable. It had so many just parts and pieces that we wanted from our lives right here. And we moved and we loved it. And then, the school closure discussions began, and it was just such a crazy concept for us because we just came here because this is what we love so much, and we're so happy with the schools. And I just realized then, how important the school board is and the community, and that we're all in the same vision and the same direction. And I want to be part of that. I feel like I fit the community well. I have like-minded direction, and I just really want to help Olympia keep going in that direction. And so that's why I'm running.
I have to keep going on and off audio because my cat wants to be part of the interview a lot. Um, I moved here from rural Minnesota many, many years ago. Uh, and it's interesting sort of acclimating to the community and trying to figure out, were your kids in school when you moved already, or were they about to get into school?
My son was not in school yet, and my daughter was in kindergarten. So it was kind of like, let's just do it before they're too invested, and all the things. And we just went for it.
And so what's the biggest, I know what the biggest differences are. I'm not going to ask that question. It's interesting that you sort of did you dive into the whole school closure just because that was a whole big thing about budget and declining enrollment and a lot of the community got very upset about it. And one of the questions on the questionnaire that I sent out was about sort of, do we need a reconciliation process? And a lot of your responses on the questionnaire were about transparent, open communication and just I feel like that probably informed a lot of those answers. So do you feel like it seems like you got involved in that process somehow and that process really informed a lot of this run and your questionnaire answers?
Yes, absolutely. Coming from rural Iowa, it is absolutely very different. And I was very active in my community there. And the community events, the community meetings, the people that showed up were entirely different than what I saw show up for the school closure meetings and things. And I was just like blown away by the community and the support and the what together they want as a vision for this community, and just how thoughtful people are and caring. And it was just like, beyond a doubt, we had moved to the right place throughout all that process. My role in my so I'm an interior designer, and what I do for people is, I feel like I'm like the translator between clients being the homeowners, and then construction contractors, the process, all those things. And so I feel like I'm constantly clarifying and making sure people are aware of what we're doing and what decisions that are being made, and how, so that's already in my wheelhouse, to be clarifying things for people, and to be making sure processes are understood and decisions are being clear, and that we all know what we're getting into and all the things. And So then when I saw the school closure process just was very much not like how I would run a project. And it was just then seeing the community show up and be like, no, they also don't want a project run like that. It felt we were very much on the same page. And so then when my position, when this seat was open, it was like, well, I can do this. I can bring that transparency to the board, that communication between the community. I felt like that's something that really could help the direction.
One of your answers to the questionnaire, you talked about uh, that it shouldn't be a job in and of itself to stay informed with what is going on in the school district. I live across the street from Lincoln Elementary, and that school closure conversation surprised me as well. When I got this assignment to do the Olympia School Board endorsement research, I had to try and research a little, and I found it a little frustrating to find information. So that answer, I was like, she's right, it is a job in and of itself. So how
Yes.
would you go about trying to improve that? Like, are there specific ideas that you already have in mind for how you could improve it? And I know that I've talked to some other parents who seem to think that requiring people to show up at a set time just for a school board might not fit everybody. That might not be, the way that everybody can participate. So do you have more ideas about all of that?
That it's a really good question. No, I don't have any specific strategies or ideas, except for that I know that most people are overwhelmed with information and alerts and things we're supposed to go to and things we're supposed to pay attention to and all these things. It just my life is very much about streamlining people's lives for them so that it's just not so complicated. There shouldn't have to be 5 meetings about something. There shouldn't have to be all these things that we're keeping track of. So to me, it's more like my goal is always simplifying the information, simplifying what's going on, how active you need to be to understand what's going on. It should be clear. It should be easy. And I know that they've had communication studies and things like that within the board and within the school, which is great. And I'm excited to kind of dive into those more and see what's even possible. I think the school itself has been working on great messaging and that's been going well, but it's just a lot of information all the time. So, the information overload is overwhelming for everyone throughout the world. And so I think it's always just simplifying the message, being just really clear about what we're doing. It's not complicated. It shouldn't be, but we should understand and know what we're doing so well that when we deliver the information, it's not complicated. And that's always my goal.
So Olympia School District's been in the news a little bit lately. There was a thing going on up at Jefferson Middle School with a teacher returning. There's been a thing in Jolt, an article about the additional budget challenges that are going to happen that are separate from any federal funding challenges. Um, you sure you still want to do this?
I get that question all the time. Every time I tell people I'm running for school board, they're like, "Ooh, really? Are you sure?" I have a tendency to kind of jump into the fire of things. That is my way. I call myself kind of a firefighter of interior design. I'm usually coming into projects that are having issues and out of control, and you need someone to come in and really kind of bring it all together. And so I feel like that is where I shine, is when I'm helping. This is not a crisis situation by any means, but not an easy flow. Like there's some things that need to happen here, and I'm excited to just jump in and help get the school board and this district to where we are running smoothly, where we're moving in the same direction together, and it just we should be just moving much more smoothly.
One of your answers also talked a little bit about that a lot of things were going really well in the Olympia School District, and you're very pleased with it, but that they might be spread a little too thin, or they might be losing focus in some areas. And did you have specific comments about where that is, or why you sort of feel that like that it might be getting a little fuzzy around the edges?
Well, I think everyone is in the world today. It's just very easy to spread ourselves way too thin. A book that changed my life a really long time ago was Essentialism, and it's just about like really fine tuning where you're going, what you're doing, so that you're not wasting time wondering about things and should we do this or should we investigate this, like even back to the school closures. there was so much wasted time and money and resources that went nowhere. But use, I mean, it was it's obviously a conversation we have to have, and we need to be dealing with the budget, and we need to be working through all these issues. But had we been on a more had we had more consensus in our direction, that would have saved so much time right there. That would have saved so much money in the budget. There's just so many different areas I think that we could look at that we're dabbling in a little too far on the outside, just keeping to our core what was important, student education, the equality within our schools, really just the foundational principles of Olympia is what I'd want to hold on to very tightly.
And what do you think about you just said equality within our schools, and I know a lot of your answers were very much about, inclusivity and that, but when I hear equality between schools, I think about Lincoln and Madison, or, like schools that are very different to very different parts of the city, and may have different funding, may have different programs available to them. What do you, I mean, what do you think about that? Is that like, do we want that? Do we want them all to be the same? How can we equalize that a little better, or,
Well,
make that a
yeah, I
little
know
bit
that's
fair?
absolutely something the district has been working on as to like what is equity. And I think that's a bigger question. But what I always am working on with my kids is like fair does not mean he got a new pair of shoes, so you get a new pair of shoes. Fair is he needed a new pair of shoes. When you need one, you will get one. Or whatever it is that you need, you will get that. You don't necessarily both need the same thing, but you get what you need and you're taken care of. And to me, that's the general equality of the schools, that everyone is getting what they need, and everybody needs very different things. So that's obviously something I would have to look into, be part of a lot more. And I'm looking forward to that because I love looking at the whole system of what's going on. And that's what my focus would be, is just that is each school getting what they individually need, because they're not all the same. And I'm excited to look into that more.
One of the things that you emphasized also in your questionnaire was support for mental health, and you specifically mentioned for both staff and students. So can you talk a little bit about that, about why that is important to you, was important enough to mention, and what you kind of hope for as an end result? Like if you were successful bringing more support for that, what would be the ideal state?
Well, I think as a society, our emotional maturity is lacking in so many adults. So I believe that by growing the, emotional awareness of our kids, we can help to work through a lot of issues that are lingering in our world. So to me, it's like, let's address it at the root and teach kids how to handle emotions, how to handle the stress of school. How do we support teachers to handle the stress of school, the staff? Like, it's one thing to push academics, but if there is no resources around that, of like the emotional stability you need to perform, to be able to learn to, accept criticism from teachers, or to learn a new challenging topic, like there's more to learning than just reading and writing. It's about preparing your mental state to, handle the world and learning. And just, so to me, I've in my job, I help people make decisions constantly, and I see how difficult it is for a lot of people, and how unprepared of so many people are to make decisions in their life. And it's like these fundamental building blocks that help us grow in more than just academic ways. And so I would like to see those continue to be, they are somewhat included in Olympia already. It's very ingrained in what I think the values are, to, helping kids feel seen and heard, and, you know, learning different learning styles and addressing those things. And I would just continue to layer on that we all need different strategies and tactics and learning styles to be able to do our best. And so that's what I mean by addressing the mental health. It's learning how to handle ourselves mentally and emotionally so that we can do our best as students and staff.
Um, okay, I had a thing. Oh yeah, because you said a couple times in the questionnaire responses, you were talking a lot about putting information, age appropriate information in front of the students, and then letting them figure out how to think about it and what to decide. And uh, I'm guessing that's what you do with your clients. Um, and it struck me that, like, have you seen this with your own children as they're progressing through school or through the development cycle, and you probably remember it from, is that how you grew up and were educated in school, or is it how you wish you were educated in
It
school?
was certainly it was certainly how I wish I was educated. Growing up in the Midwest, I didn't realize, but I was being fed a very conservative agenda even in school. You know, my government class in high school only talked about Republicans. Like that was it. It was like I was ostracized for being a Democrat ever or for even asking questions that might lead me down that road. It was like not allowed. Like, what is that? That is so wrong. Like, that is not what school is for. We are providing information and teaching kids how to think, how to research, how to think critically, and like, just we're not going to be able to be with them for the rest of their lives. So these are the tools that we're giving them to handle all this information that is being thrown their way, whether it's just the overall wealth of information that's available online, whether it's misinformation that we need to be able to decipher, you know, just between marketing and propaganda and all the things. Like there is an onslaught of information coming at our kids and adults and everyone, and to be able to sort through that and make your own decision, I think is the most important. Yes, that is how I treat my clients. Like, I'm not going to tell you, you need to have this floor. I'm going to tell you, these are the pros and cons of each floor. Which one fits your lifestyle? You know, which one fits you? You need to make that decision. So I just think that's something that is a life skill we should be teaching.
Got it. Shoot. And again, you said something there that I wanted to follow up on. I'm trying to think what it was. Oh yeah. Uh, and I've asked all the candidates this question. I've read a lot of articles about AI in schools lately, and you know, it's new technology and it can be embraced for good, but it's also, you know, like, is it cheating? And how do teachers identify it? And what are kids really learning? And what do you think about that? Do you think Olympia School District needs a policy? And how would you go about crafting one? And like, where's your head at on that topic right now?
Yeah, it's absolutely an issue. Like, it's way too easy to just like even your candidate questionnaire. There was some where I'm like, I could take your question and I can ask Chat GPT or whatever, you know, as a person with this views, how would you answer this question? You know, and it just gives me an answer. And not that I just use those answers, but they were certainly great starting points sometimes to be like, oh wow, that's a better way to say this. Or you know, there's certainly good ways to use it. Or I would take a paragraph and be like, okay, rewrite this in 200 words and a little more casual. Or, you know, I think there's absolutely uses, but to be able to monitor that and I think it goes to teaching kids again how to think and how to handle this information. And because again, I think AI is as useful as you make it. It's what they feed the information, it's the background information you give, it's the questions you ask that it then provides you an answer. But then to make that answer personal and apply to you is the real trick, you know, to not just copy and paste from AI, but to say, okay, let me use this to better illustrate my point. You know, ideally is the way we should be using it, but absolutely, I think there's going to need to be a policy because I don't know how teachers could discern one versus the other unless it's very obvious and it went from terrible writing to very professional writing, you know, and things like that. But it's a great tool, but it's something that I think we're definitely going to have to navigate, and this is a very new world for that in school. And yeah, good luck to us all figuring out how to navigate that.
All of the things, all of the new tech.
Yes.
Okay, yep. I don't, I, a lot of my curiosity about this is The sort of the balance also, I don't know about the composition of the current school board. I know there are student representatives on the current school board. And so you have the voice of students, but those are like high school students. And I think there's probably, people on the school board that have I'm hoping there's a mix. People who have high school students, people who have elementary, middle school students, so that that gets represented. Like, if
Mhm.
there's not a mix, how would you ensure that, you were kind of looking at the things from the whole age range within the school district and making sure that everybody felt represented. I think there's parents sort of a lot of parents drop out of public life and don't take on volunteer roles and public service roles because they're busy raising their children. And then that eases up a little bit as their children get older. So how do you make sure that the parents who are just, really working hard to raise their kids and hold down their jobs can be included?
Well, I think that goes back somewhat to the communication discussion of, helping people feel easily involved or informed without overwhelming them with knowledge and information. So striking that balance, but yeah, I have elementary age kids, so I'm very in touch with what's going on in the elementary world. But I would think, to me, it's as a school board member, it would be a responsibility to engage in the community, with the going to middle school events and high school events and just speaking with people in the who are in the thick of it because they don't have time to do anything else but give me their answer when they're at the basketball game or wherever I find them. To me, it's just growing the community within the schools and having just really regular conversations where it doesn't feel so pressured to have a debate and come to an answer and the things, but that we can be having regular conversations throughout the community about what's working in the school and what's not and what parents are thinking about. And um, I just think it's always good to just be actively engaged throughout. And I love the idea, and I love that they're doing student representatives on the school board for the high school age kids. I think it's absolutely, I'm very excited for that because I think the more you can engage, I mean, kids know what they want. There's no doubt about that. They can answer the questions. And I think talking more often, the more you can talk to them, the better. And raising them, encouraging them to be involved and active and, talking about what needs to change and what could change to even know that their voice could cause a change is what's fantastic. So I'm excited to engage with all of the community and look forward to be in touch with everyone.
You seem very extroverted, like you're comfortable talking to people. And I'm wondering about what about conflict? Like if there's conflict on the board, if there was a board member who I don't remember seeing that every decision has to be consensus. I'm assuming it doesn't because the other school boards definitely don't.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Um, and so how do you handle situations like that where you just disagree with somebody and they lose the vote or you lose the vote, and then how do you sort of make sure that that relationship's still good and that you still go on, and how do you represent that to the community? Like if there's not consensus on the school board among the school board, would you be a person who was like, nope, we have to, like say we're gonna pretend like it was everybody get behind this decision, or how does that work out in your
Well, like
ideal
I said, I
world?
work in construction, so I am very used to conflict. So that is, I may seem like I'm just really nice and bubbly, but I deal in conflict every day. And so I would just continue to do the same. To me, discussions should be based in facts. These are what we're working with. These are our budgets. These are our numbers. This is what's possible. This is what we'd like. This is our goal. And then decisions are made there. I am a very emotionally removed person when it comes to decision making. And I think it's about what's best for the school, what's best for the community, what direction we're going. Does this get us there? That's why I think it's really important to have really refined goals and clear directions so that it's just constantly, well, is this going to move us in that direction or does it subtract? Because if it's not giving us towards that, then we don't need to go down that road. Um, to me, when you can keep it very focused, it's a lot easier to make decisions. I am the person, I like to compromise. There is no doubt there will have to be lots of compromises, and I like to work through discussions until there is a win-win. To me, you're not trying hard enough if you're not offering a win-win solution. So that's how I look at it, is there's always, we're not done until we find a way for everyone to at least feel comfortable with the decision, even if it's not maybe our favorite.
And what my last question before I'm going to ask you to close up. What does, let's say you get elected and you serve however many terms you would like to serve. What would it be to be successful in that? What would you want people to have said about your tenure on the school board as like, you know, what you contributed? What would that look like?
That's a really great question. I would like it to be that we've created a school system where kids love going to school, where they're enjoying the process, they're feeling prepared for the world, and they're just ready for it. Like, I don't think school needs to be anything super complicated, except for that it should be what the basics that you need to move you forward. And that to me is my ultimate goal, is that kids felt seen and heard, wanted to go to school. You know, when you can hear that about kids, they're not dreading going to school. They feel like they get to do things they're interested in. They, feel respected and seen, and just like, yeah, prepared for the world is really what I'm trying to do, is create citizens that are ready to just like crush out there. And so that would be my legacy, is that we've created just this superpower here within Olympia where we're just like pumping out awesome people. And that's how you create better communities. That's how you create better worlds. And I'm all about starting right here.
Okay. So now you can say whatever you want in terms of, I really was ready for you to ask this question and you didn't, and have something burning to say, or you can just, sort of recap or whatever you'd like for a few minutes.
Thank you. No, I think you asked awesome questions. You're a really great questioner. So thank you. I'm just very excited about this possibility. I love Olympia. I love the community. I want to be part of it. I want to help it grow and, just continue to create a system that is flourishing, a community that's growing. In this world that we're living in, we don't always get to see progress move forward in the way that we're hoping, and equality, and just the justice that we're looking for. And I want to see that here in Olympia. I want to see us continue to push forward into this. It's just a wonderful place to be, and I'm so happy to, you know kids feel, yeah, just kids feel seen here. You can tell that there is such a commitment to equality, to diversity, to inclusivity. That's what I love about it here. And I would just continue to push those values forward and do everything I can to keep it happening. So I hope to be the one. And no matter what, absolutely love being here in Olympia.
Okay, so that's the end of our interview, and I want to thank you very much for running because you're a mom and you're a wife and you're a business owner and you're very busy, and it's notable and laudable that you're stepping up and you want to be part of it. And I'm very grateful to that, and I'm grateful that we have great choices. I mean, that's awesome. It's awesome that you're running. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much too. And thank you for putting this all together. It's so much work and just so appreciated.
Okay, let's get back out there and enjoy the sunshine.
Yes, you too. Have a good night.
Best of luck.